Hey everybody, this is Nick. Welcome to the back porch. Today I wanted to give you just a brief, quick look at my thoughts and review of C.S. Lewis's beloved classic, especially by me. I'm sure this is the case for many people around the world, but probably my favorite C.S. Lewis book, which is the Screwtape Letters. This is my copy. Actually, I've got a few copies. Bought a few copies at a used bookstore about a year or so ago. I was going to give them out to a couple of church members. Well, church members and regular attenders, because we had one family that was coming for a while. And the man really loved to read, and he enjoyed fiction. Y'all can see my little dog, Taylor, down here in the corner. It's starting to rain here, so she's wanting to go in. My other one's actually sitting over here on the chair. His name is Bombadil, after Tom Bombadil from Lord of the Rings, because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Which coincidentally C.S. Lewis and Tolkien were quite good friends. Actually, this book was written and dedicated to Tolkien. So, that being said, anyway, had a family coming to church, and the man really enjoyed reading, and so we were out of town for a weekend, and I bought him a used copy of this book, but it was in great condition, no markings or anything, and it actually had a follow-up that Lewis wrote a while back when he is called Screwtape Proposes a Toast. And I was going to give him a copy, and then showed up the next Sunday, and they weren't there. Which isn't that uncommon here where I'm at. You know, people in and out of church, but in a small church is noticeable because my church is quite tiny. But neither here nor there. But he didn't show up. And a few weeks went by, he didn't show up, and tried to reach out, never heard from him, never called me back, and hadn't heard from the guy since. It's been like 2 years. So I've got multiple copies of the Screwtape Letters. It's just this is the one that I read more often than not. You can't really tell in the video, but there's places where it's a little water damaged because I sat it outside while I was sitting outside reading when I still lived in Georgia, and it started to drizzle and got a little wet. But that being said, if you've not heard of this book, I can't highly recommend a book more to you than as a pastor, other than maybe the Bible itself, and well, and Pilgrim's Progress. If you've never read Pilgrim's Progress, go read that too. But I'm digressing here, right? Let's get back to Screwtape Letters. Screwtape Letters is a work of fiction by C.S. Lewis, but it's a work of fiction that just has no other equal, in my opinion. These letters originally were published in The Guardian back during the Second World War and before. Actually, I have this really great audio story about how Mere Christianity came about, because which is another of C.S. Lewis's classic works, because those were radio addresses from the BBC during the Second World War. But during that radio drama, Lewis, come to find out, and I don't think I realized this, but the university in which he was teaching, he was also publishing these letters, and it was really rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, because Screwtape is a demon, and he's writing letters to his nephew, who is a younger demon, and he's writing letters to his nephew on how to best, not possess, but how to best thwart his subject, or his patient, as Screwtape calls them, from not only becoming a Christian, but after his patient becomes a Christian. This isn't a huge spoiler. This book came out in the 40s, so if it's a huge spoiler, then, you know, we're like 70 some odd years past it. But after his patient becomes a Christian, then Screwtape is advising Wormwood on how to keep him from being an effective Christian. And so this book is hilarious in many ways, just with the way that Screwtape gives his advice. It's very loving, oddly, in some ways, and many of his letters begin with my dear Wormwood and end with your affectionate Uncle Screwtape. I love to read it, but I also love to listen to it. There's quite a few audio versions out there, but my favorite by far is read by Joss Ackland, who is a British actor who's still alive. He was born in 1928. He's still living. I believe he might have been. I know he was in The Hunt for Red October. I think I'm getting the actors' names confused, but I feel like he was in The Mighty Ducks too, but I don't think it's the same guy. I think I'm thinking of somebody else. But I know he was in The Hunt for Red October and quite a few other things. But anyway, he reads this book with so much character, and so if you don't really listen to audiobooks, man, go get the audiobook of Screwtape Letters read by Joss Ackland, because it deserves an award. It really does, because he puts so much character into Screwtape. And there's moments when Screwtape just absolutely loses it because he's so infuriated with Wormwood, and Joss just puts so much character into Screwtape, and it's so great. I'm not going to read any of these to you. They're all very, very short, just a few pages long each. There may be one that's really long, only because Screwtape is just so frustrated with his nephew Wormwood. But the Screwtape Letters was written by C.S. Lewis. I'm just going to read the inside jacket to you to kind of give you an idea if you've never heard of this before. It says, "This classic has entertained and enlightened readers the world over with its sly and ironic portrayal of human life and foibles from the unique advantage point of Screwtape, a highly placed assistant to our Father below," which would be Satan himself. At once wildly comic, deadly serious, and strikingly original, C.S. Lewis gives us the correspondence of a worldly wise devil to his nephew Wormwood, a novice demon in charge of securing the damnation of an ordinary young man. The Screwtape Letters is the most engaging account of temptation and triumph over it ever written. And as I said, this book is just, I adore this book. I read it at least once a year, sometimes more than. And if I read it once a year, I definitely listen to it once a year as well. So I get it in twice a year because it's worth that much of a reread. Same with Pilgrim's Progress. Frankly, same with Lord of the Rings, and a few other things. But that being said, I would highly recommend the Screwtape Letters to anybody who has either never read C.S. Lewis or has read other C.S. Lewis works but never has read the Screwtape Letters, because it is highly worth your time. So you go out, grab you a copy of the Screwtape Letters, digital, get the audio version, whatever. But if you get the audio version, get Joss Ackland's and enjoy this great, great classic that is hilarious, serious, and fun all at the same time. Hope you guys are doing well. Y'all have a wonderful day.